Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm going to talk to you some today about my experience as a Christian and my path with Jesus. I've been a Christian as long as I can remember, going all the way back to, growing up in the church, and from preschool I can remember talking about God and Jesus and Bible stories, and He's always had a presence in my life. Early on, there are some points where I can really remember there being visible impacts of God on my life. I remember, for one, I remember being in a car accident when I was 5 years old, and it was a car accident where the car, it was on the interstate, and another car had hit into our car, and it had flipped over a number of times into oncoming traffic. And frankly, the paramedics, when they arrived, they thought they would be carrying away multiple body bags, but by the grace of God, there were four of us in that car, and all four of us were able to get out of that with no more than relatively minor injuries. And I remember being in that moment. There was just a certain grace about that could be felt in that moment, and I think that experience could be nothing less than a miracle that I think wouldn't be possible without God. Just all the things that had to go right in that moment for it to turn out the way it did, and I thank Him for that. I also, another major experience I had with God in my childhood years, my parents were older when they had me, and I was an only child for the longest time, but I really wanted to have a baby sister, and I remember praying about it for at least 3 years on end. And to a certain extent, I think to a certain extent I had begun to realize that maybe it's not going to happen, maybe it's just not possible. I didn't even realize all the biological implications that need to be overcome in order for that to happen at that time. But I just remember having that mindset of pray, bring it to the Lord, and He will provide. Keep the faith. Keep asking. And be diligent with your heart, and He will provide. And I'm glad to say that I was able to welcome a baby sister at 6 years old, and healthy and everything. Great miracle, and I to this day profusely thank God for blessing me with my little sister. I did have a background of a lot of experiences with God providing, showing His grace, showing His mercy, and showing His power. But that being said, I think this is true with a lot of folks. You kind of grow up and you somewhat question, what does my faith really? Is this what is this faith? What is this relationship with God really look like? And there was never a point where I necessarily walked away or did anything noticeably different, but there definitely were points where in the early teenage years, especially early to mid teenage years, let the influences of the world walk more into my life than had previously been there, and it took some time. I remember during those years, I lost my grandfather, which was the first major loss in my life, when I was 13, and I remember that really shook me, and that really made me greatly question what was the plan, why did this happen the way it did, and I struck that. I mean, that combined with, I think, the normal prepubescent thoughts of wondering what have I been told that's right, what have I been told that's wrong. The questioning spirit, it all led me to be more reliant on things that friends were doing than things that God would teach me to do or want me to do. And it probably wasn't, I mean, luckily I was able to be brought back into more of the mainstream fold in my latter teenage years with some Christian friends that were really able to kind of remind me of the importance of one's faith, one's relationship with God, and really renewed my spirit in that way. From that, I mean, I continue to seek out the Lord. I mean, it's kind of been a continuous journey from that point. I feel like the Lord has been able to bless me in many ways since then as well. And that's the thing with the experience that has been most present in my life, I feel like, is having that faith and seeing God's plan, being able to work through different situations, and He's always there for you. You just need to be reaching out and ask. And if you seek Him, He will provide the answers that you're looking for. I've been glad to be digging more into Scripture. It's been a continuous process to try to live more like the way Jesus has taught us. And I'm not saying that I'm done yet, but I do think that there has been a good amount of progress that I feel like the Lord has been able to impress upon my life, and I pray that He continues to do so. I thank the Lord for being able to provide me with those opportunities. I try to do everything I can to try to spread His word in and among others, to try to whether that be the explicit, telling some people that, hey, I think that Jesus would be a great influence in your life. Would you even consider looking into this more? As well as the more implicit ways of bringing people to the Lord in living the more, trying to treat others the way that we want to be treated. Love our neighbors as ourselves. Love the way that Jesus taught us to love. And I've tried to do that. And like I said, I continue to grow in that way. The journey's not over by any means, but I'm glad to be in this journey with God. And that kind of gives you an idea of my story with God.